Howdy. Yet another EMP-proof vehicle. Very old wooden skis and boots. Where we got the windows from which I should once then construct this kind of greenhouse. He looked at me and then he said that, "You said you need boots?" I said, "I don't know that I need boots, but here you have boots." So I got boots, and they are very good boots. They are very high, weighed about 10 kilos. They're quite big, so they are fitting many woolen socks inside. Some days later, it turned out someone wants to get rid of all the skis they have. Not probably all of them, but we got very many skis. And one pair of them turned out to be perfectly fitting. These are boots made for using these kind of skis. So now if there's no snow plowing or whatsoever, there is a possibility anyway to go somewhere. I don't know if it makes any point to try to go to the shop. Maybe. But it's much easier to walk with these through heavy snow than walking. Man, they didn't cost a thing. Pareidolia. Maybe some of you have seen my cold dragon in the east, waiting to come to Europe for its visit. Pareidolia is a tendency for perception to impose a meaningful interpretation on a nebulous stimulus, usually visual, so that one sees an object pattern or meaning where there is none. Common examples are perceived images of animals, faces, or objects in cloud formations. Seeing faces and inanimate objects, or lunar pareidolia like the man on the moon or the moon rabbit. The concept of pareidolia may extend to include hidden messages. In recorded music played in reverse or at higher or lower than normal speeds, and hearing voices mainly indistinct, or music in random noise such as the produced by air conditioner or fans. Scientists have taught computers to use visual clues to see faces and other images. Pareidolia. But I also wanted to share this from Frontiers of Neuroscience. Superior pattern processing is the essence of the evolved human brain. We won't make a whole read-through, but anyway, abstract. Humans have long pondered the nature of their mind, brain, and particularly why its capacities for reasoning, communication, and abstract thought are far superior to other species. Maybe we just think like this because we cannot understand them. But let's continue. Including close-related anthropoids, this article considers superior pattern processing, SPP, as the fundamental basis of most, if not all, unique features of the human brain, including intelligence, language, imagination, invention, and the belief in imaginary entities such as ghosts and gods. SPP involves the electrochemical neuronal network-based encoding, integration, and transfer to other individuals of perceived or mentally fabricated patterns. During human evolution, pattern processing capabilities became increasingly sophisticated as the result of expansion of the cerebral cortex, particularly the prefrontal cortex and regions involved in processing of images. Specific patterns, real or imagined, are reinforced by emotional experiences, indoctrination, and even psychedelic drugs. Impaired or dysregulated SPP is fundamental to cognitive and psychiatric disorders. A broader understanding of SPP mechanisms and their roles in normal and abnormal function of the human brain may enable the development of interventions that reduce irrational decisions and destructive behaviors. So there is, I really recommend you to read this. It's all about seeing patterns, in a way, about pareidolia. Pareidolia on Windy. That's a dragon. There's a mouth, and that's the eye, and that's the horns, or however you want to call it. And it's coming from the east. So let's have a look at Windy. Because there's a reason why I showed you skis and all the other things which are going on, so they might come in handy, so to say, even though that they're out of feet. Doesn't matter. But now let's see. This is temperature. Temperature. Where we have blue, it's minus. Where we have green, it's plus. Let me show you. 0. Oh man. 0 where it's blue. Plus where it's green. So we want to watch how the blue and green areas behave in Europe, but also in Siberia, because there it's rather cold. Minus 40 degrees, 43. It has been colder some days ago. But this region of the cold air is constantly growing. There is quite interesting weather patterns going on at the moment. And it seems that that's a place to watch in near future. Because once again, this seems to cut off the warm air and water which should come from approximately the Gulf of Mexico to provide us Europeans with warm weather. But let's have a look. I don't exactly, you can see how that's a forecast. It might be totally wrong. And I have been talking about, like, we have the Siberian trap somewhere here, and we have the Kursk magnetic anomaly here. And if they make a whole region of this high pressure system, it might get really cold in Europe. No, of course, elsewhere too. Siberia, for example. And this region here, it's crawling towards the Atlantic more and more. Wednesday, now we go into the night. And here around the Kursk magnetic anomaly, it seems to be colder. There are no mountains there whatsoever. So I think the coldness there relates quite strongly to the basically metal content of the Earth, magnetic properties and such. And I want to point out one thing here. Now that's Saturday. That's a week from now. That's the situation now, approximately. I want to point one thing out, that here the air is coming from here, here, and then it turns either southwards, because there is still this stream coming from here. Maybe I have to zoom out a bit. And here is going northwards. So this air which comes from the east is either turning, no, this is either turning downwards, like this, or upwards. And here it's still pushing this rather warm air from the Atlantic into Europe. But now let's go a bit further to Thursday, Friday. See that? Obviously, the air is now going through Europe from the east, where we have now, it's a dragon. Yeah. You can call me crazy, I don't care too much. It's the freedom of thought. And here we have this kind of bow shock going on. And this region of cold air here on the right, it's somehow, now there's a dent in it. Approximately where we find a part of the Siberian traps. But let's just see or watch that till the end. It's still blowing through Europe and the bow shock is far out on the sea. There's actually two bow shocks here, or convergence zones, or double layers, or however you want to call it. So that's the situation in more than a week from here. And the winds are still blowing more or less from east to west. And if this is a continuing thing, which might seems to be going on or could happen, there could this one of these very cold blobs could really reach Europe. Maybe not whole Europe, but a bigger part. Yeah, and at one point it really somehow looks like a dragon. And if you know what dragons really are, they are basically very extreme weather events. They include very strong winds, lightning, discharge events from the ground, also upwards to the sky. Then this calling a dragon is maybe not too far-fetched anymore. Because if this very cold air, let's just check it out how cold that is, -24. Yeah, I don't know. But I think for Central Europeans, these kind of temperatures would be quite a thing. Especially if there is not enough electricity. Probably heard of that too. Let's just quickly check out the wind situation here, where it's very cold. I expect there is not much wind going on. Let's see if I'm right or wrong. Yeah, there isn't. Temperature? Maybe we have to make it like that. I will put a mark. Somewhere here, in the center, approximately. Now we have the temperature. And now change to wind. And that's the wind on the surface. Where we are. 6 kilometers per hour. 0. Just a little bit beside it. So there is not much wind. Which is the worst case scenario. For at least Finland, if there would be a windless, very cold, stable weather situation. Here somewhere we have the surface conductivity anomaly, something like that it goes, and we have negative here, and one positive here. Actually, I could search for the picture. Yeah, that's the picture I once made. I'm still thinking, pondering about these directions of... What are these? this sign. Nuoli, suomeksi. In Finnish, it's nuoli. I'm file in Deutsch, but I cannot remember what it is in English. The worst scenario of all is a severe frost and a windless high-pressure ridge that persists in the north, and Finland has not received an Olkiluoto 3 unit for commercial use, says Pia Ösch, Director of the Energy Supply Department of the National Security Agency. Here I drew this line here, which goes up. Here we have a small radar picture which emphasizes what I'm trying to say. Because of the spinning motion, it gets sucked northwards. Surface conductivity anomaly by the European Plate Observatory Systems, and a very small map of the Kursk magnetic anomaly. And I really try to find more out about these things all the time. If anybody knows something, or someone who knows more than I do about these, about the surface conductivity anomaly, how it reacts to the weather, how it influences the weather, or the Kursk magnetic anomaly, or how the Kursk magnetic anomaly is connected to the surface conductivity anomaly, or anything in that, you know. Cyclical patterns in the weather, oscillations, and all these kind of things. This is, if there, I know there's La Nina going on for the 3rd time now. Maybe it's becoming a stable weather phenomena. It's not just something which is oscillating. It just doesn't oscillate anymore, or something else. It is quite possible. Like we have the AMOC. What is it? Atlantic, no. It cannot be the Atlantic because it's the Atlantic. Yeah, not the Pacific. Atlantic, some oscillation. How we get warm weather into Europe and such. Gulf Stream and all these things. They are also affected by magnetics, for sure. But anyway, I expect some snowfall here, and I expect also some possible disruptions in public services such as plowing or these kind of things. And it happened to be that I got these for free. That's very amazing. That's very EMP proof. Yeah, maybe there will be this evening or night, or maybe evening, where I got to go to the shop or somewhere, and I have to use these, and the path is enlightened by polar lights. Would be quite fascinating. Minus 30 degrees or something. Yeah, interesting times ahead of us. But anyway, keep yourself warm. Prepare yourself for possible rather cold temperatures in Central Europe and elsewhere too. Might be that they are at least making a small visit in some time, 2 or 3 weeks from here. Let's see. Maybe earlier, I don't know. But there is a possibility for them. Thanks.